Hello everyone, and welcome to the Tome of Silver, the show where I randomly select a game from my collection, review it, and add it to an ever-growing ranking list. Over the years, Namco Bandai has earned my vote of confidence when it comes to JRPGs. They've developed my all-time favorite JRPG series in the Tales franchise, and many other beloved games of mine, like Code Vein, .hack GU, and the Digimon Cyber Sleuth games. I don't expect every title to be gold, but with their hand in so many RPGs I've adored over the years, I will, at the very least, raise an eyebrow and follow along when they announce a new one. So when they revealed Scarlet Nexus, an action RPG focused on fast-paced gameplay, I was definitely curious. It seemed like Namco was really aiming to make Scarlet Nexus a major new multimedia franchise. Alongside the game, Scarlet Nexus was also set to release an anime series shortly after the game's launch in 2021. However, it appears that Namco's hope of turning it into a larger property didn't materialize, as these remain the only two Scarlet Nexus related projects at the time of recording. When I first bought Scarlet Nexus, I didn't make it very far. I'm not sure if the game just didn't click with me, or if I simply wasn't in the right mindset at the time, but after playing for about 4 hours, I dismissed the game as mediocre, and never picked it up again until now. Coming back with a fresh perspective, and leaving my previous experience behind, I can honestly say that I'm glad I gave it another shot, because what's here is a flawed, but ultimately fun action RPG. Activate all 100% of your brain, throw an entire bus at a monster, and let's turn the page to Scarlet Nexus for the PlayStation 5. In the near future, humanity faces threats from monsters called Others, mutants that devour human brains after falling from something known as the Extinction Belt in outer space. To combat this, humanity formed the OSF, the Other Suppression Force, which uses advanced technology to access the human mind and wield supernatural abilities.
Now die!
The story follows two main protagonists, Yuito and Kasane, who are newly recruited cadets in the OSF, training to become the next generation of Earth's defenders. But things quickly go wrong. Not long after their first few missions, one of the highest ranking and most powerful OSF members, Karen, launches a coup against the government for an unknown reason, and successfully persuades half of the OSF to join him. From here, Yuito and Kasane's stories begin to diverge, and you'll need to play through the game with both characters to get the complete picture of Scarlet Nexus' story. Unfortunately, said story is not well told, being dense and difficult to follow. There are numerous interesting aspects of world building, including visual censorship and a class system that divides people born with extrasensory powers from those who aren't. But these are mainly in the background, with the real focus being on an overwhelming mix of government conspiracies, aliens, time travel, and paradoxes. There's so much happening that it's all just messy, made even more challenging to follow when you're only getting one half of the whole story your first time through. Additionally, several major conflicts throughout the story could be resolved if the characters would simply talk to each other, but they never do. Instead, they opt to remain cryptic with one another as a shoehorned way of creating mystery and tension.
What are you doing?
Yuito, you must die.
What?
Scarlet Nexus has a large cast, none of whom I found especially compelling. They're not boring, it's a varied cast with distinct personalities, but few outside the two main protagonists get a whole lot of time to shine throughout the story, and fail to be much beyond their usual archetypes. This is alleviated somewhat through Bond events, which we'll discuss more later, but the main story fails to use this large cast to its full potential. It all comes together to create a clunky story that doesn't captivate, worsened by its presentation. While the visuals are mostly impressive, with stunning character models and solid animation, Scarlet Nexus uses cutscenes sparingly, opting instead to tell the story through static images, much like a visual novel. But for me, it made the presentation dull, and even worse, it made it seem cheap. The game feels just as much like a visual novel as it does an action game, but that combination didn't work well for this type of game. But enough about the story. Let's focus on what this game does really well: stylish gameplay.
Here we go!
That attack worked! There must be a weak spot.
Whoa, nice!
Along with the usual action game combo attacks, the main characters and their teammates each have extrasensory abilities that bring the combat to the next level. The protagonists possess psychokinesis, which enables them to use their minds to manipulate objects in their environment and throw them at enemies. Particular objects can have unique effects, allowing you to attack larger areas or apply special conditions to synergize with your team's powers. Each of your teammates has a unique ability that you can activate instantly at any time. These include pyrokinesis, adding fire to your standard attacks, hypervelocity, slowing down time, or teleportation, allowing you to close the distance to the enemy instantly and increasing the distance of your evasion. Some powers have unique interactions. For example, if you've hit an enemy with an oil barrel, you can ignite them with pyrokinesis, causing the enemy to suffer a burning effect. As you level up, you'll progressively be able to use multiple powers at the same time, allowing you to mix and match their various effects to combat enemies. Scarlet Nexus's combat is fast, fluid, and most importantly, fun as hell. Each character's powers are incredibly unique from one another, and constantly upgrade throughout the adventure to introduce new elements. The enemy variety is also excellent. Many are well designed, blending organic elements with industrial components to create some wonderfully bizarre and disturbing monsters. Additionally, the enemies have weak points that require players to utilize their powers strategically to exploit their vulnerabilities. The game is at its best once the two protagonist stories begin to converge. There, you gain access to the whole cast and their abilities, allowing for absolutely insane combinations. A favorite of mine was using invisibility to close the distance and launching a surprise attack, causing my first few hits to deal critical damage. Then I would activate hypervelocity to slow down time, and duplication to create 3 copies of myself, followed by electrokinesis or pyrokinesis to add elemental damage to all 3 copies of myself to positively shred through enemies. It felt incredible, and the sheer amount of combinations and possibilities allows for a healthy amount of player expression during its combat. Additionally, the player has a brain gauge that builds up as they fight, and once it's full, they can activate their brain field. When Brain Field is active, the player loses access to their teammates' powers, but gains increased attack, speed, and lower consumption of the psychokinesis gauge. This can be incredibly useful for turning the tide in a fight against a powerful enemy. However, this can only be used for a limited time. If you fail to deactivate the brain field before the countdown reaches 0, it's an instant game over, so keep a close eye on it. It adds a sort of game of chicken to the ability. You can try and use it for as long as you can, but at the risk of deactivating it too late. Thankfully, the game provides visual cues when your brain gauge is running out, as well as reminders from your teammates, so you'll never have a game over catch you by surprise, only from getting too greedy. Scarlet Nexus's combat offers a ton of variety, and it all comes together for a flashy spectacle that is both stylish and entertaining. There are, however, several flaws that hold it back. None of them are deal breakers, but they prevent the game from being a masterclass in the action genre. First, while the psychic abilities and various powers add variety, I still found the combat to become repetitive about 2/3 into the game. Near the end game, despite the variety, the same enemy types began appearing frequently, and exploiting their weaknesses began to lose its luster as I performed the same actions over and over again. This is partially the fault of the game's length, as the combat scenarios feel bloated to match the length of the narrative. If Scarlet Nexus were the length of a Devil May Cry game, I doubt I would have felt the same way. Adding to the repetition is the fact that the game is very easy, even on the higher difficulties, offering little motivation to strategize or try different approaches. The worst part is that your team often interrupts to tell you what powers to use, removing the fun of discovering weak points on your own and being just plain annoying. These constant reminders continue all the way to the endgame, and even in New Game Plus, they repeat tutorials. It almost feels patronizing at times, as if Scarlet Nexus doesn't trust its players to remember or figure things out on their own. Lastly, there are the environments. While Scarlet Nexus looks pretty good, the dull environments don't really highlight that. Most of the places you go through are boring and poorly designed. That's unfortunate, especially since you visit each location multiple times. Most areas are revisited 3 or 4 times per playthrough, and each story rarely, if ever, has its own unique set pieces, no environment unique to that character's story. The visual fatigue set in quickly, and got worse as I had to go through the same spots repeatedly. After finishing a chapter, you'll enter the standby phase, which functions as a kind of break time from the plot. During this time, you can do side quests, interact with party members, and increase your bonds with them. Bonds shouldn't be skipped because, beyond providing essential development for the sidecast, they also unlock numerous buffs for their abilities. Bonds grow naturally throughout the story, but you can boost them further by giving your teammates gifts.
What? You wanted to get closer to me? Aw, shucks.
I guess I would like to understand you better.
I appreciated that you can only give party members gifts that they like. I always look up gift guides in these sorts of games anyways, because why would I want to waste an item while lowering their friendship? I'm glad they decided to just skip the middleman and save players the hassle. The best part about giving gifts to your teammates is that the items actually appear in your home base. Sometimes you'll even see your party members using them. What a cool idea! It makes the presents feel meaningful, and it's amazing to watch your base gradually fill up and become more lively. This implementation is so well done that I honestly can't imagine accepting a lesser gift mechanic in any future game. This was so fun. You can also buy some accessories from the shop to customize your team. Usually I save accessories for subsequent playthroughs, so my first run keeps the characters looking as intended. But here, I got a bit carried away, and started using accessories right from the jump, often changing my character's appearance at the end of each chapter. Moving on to sound, Scarlet Nexus excels. The voice acting is excellent, both in English and Japanese, which players are free to switch between. The real standout is the game's soundtrack. The music is primarily EDM, with a fantastic blend of chill music for the bass and overworld, and absolute bangers for the battle themes. It's all tremendous, adding an exciting flair to the already thrilling battles. Finally, Scarlet Nexus has a New Game Plus feature, which allows you to carry money and unlockables forward to your next playthrough. It also provides the option as to whether you would like to carry over character levels. So if you want to start back at level 1 to maintain the game's challenge, you can do so. Or blast through at a higher level if you're only looking to experience the second half of the story mode. This is a welcome inclusion that keeps things flexible for the player, allowing them to experience their second playthrough however they prefer. It's well handled. Scarlet Nexus boasts numerous great ideas and a thrilling combat system, but unfortunately it's held back by several shortcomings. The environments are both bland and repetitive, lacking in challenge. Even its wonderfully diverse power system can't keep the gameplay varied enough for a full playthrough, due to the padding near the end. It's all bloated to fit a story that's not especially enjoyable. I can only hope Scarlet Nexus one day gets a sequel to polish up its shortcomings. because when the combat gets fun, there's nothing quite like it out there, and there's tons of potential to push it to being one of the all-time greats. Scarlet Nexus will brain blast to number 33, stealing it from the console version of Ultimate Spider-Man. With just a handful of tweaks, Scarlet Nexus could have made it so much higher, and I hope that Namco Bandai hasn't completely given up on the Psychokinetic series yet. And that's all for this video. Please give it a like if you enjoyed it, and consider sharing with your friends. If you've played Scarlet Nexus, which teammate had your favorite power? Mine was Hypervelocity, hands down. Also, if you've watched the anime, how is it? I've never seen it myself, and I am curious if it's worth a watch, even if I've already played the game. Leave your comments below, I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts. Don't forget to wait to the end of the video to see which game our wheel will select next. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and may we see each other again when we turn to the next chapter in the Tome of Silver.